I think I've gotten to a place where I can be myself unapologetically.
Okay.
You know, I lived in a space for a while where I had survivor's remorse for being the one who has been well traveled, for being the one who can go to wineries in Italy and see the Mediterranean and sip on wine and spit it out and eat cheese. You know, there's different things I've been exposed to.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of it too, being exposed.
Yeah.
But I think now I'm to a place where it's okay. This is my life. I'm accepting where I am and understanding that there's that country girl that will walk outside barefoot, you know what I'm saying, still to this day just to feel grounded.
Yeah.
There's a girl that can hop on a private jet and know how to behave and know how to carry myself around certain people. I can go have dinner with the president and then come and hang out with my cousins in Tennessee on the porch and just sit there and chill and still feel like myself and not feel like I've got to shift or anything, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's what people appreciate. They appreciate that, like, I'm just who I am, you know?
I can see that.
Yeah.
But that confuses me a little bit because it would seem that you being all of that would have no problem on the dating scene. I wasn't gonna go there immediately.
Let's go there.
But I'm just talking, because I remember me and my friends used to always say, man, she gotta be able to kick it at the White House and go to a Tupac concert.
That's a
you
real
know?
thing.
And I'm like, you just said that.
I can do that.
And that's what dudes want.
Let's talk about it.
So what's happening?
Yeah. I feel like where I am now, okay, one, I have to take accountability for understanding that as a successful woman, a woman who's had to build it on her own and be independent and almost to a fault hyper independent, where it's hard to relinquish control, where it's hard to be like, okay, you got it. But also attracting someone and having someone come in my life that makes me feel safe enough to be like, all right, you got it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And for me, I can say I haven't always had the easiest time of letting go because I'm so used to doing things a certain way.
Welcome back to the channel. You see the information on the screen, so you know what I'm about. So let's get to it. So this is a pretty interesting video. It's on Lecrae's channel, and it basically follows Crystall Hayslett. Now, some of you may know who she is. Some of you may not know who she is. She is an actress that works a lot with Tyler Perry, and she's on his new show, Sisters. All right. So that is her history. She's about 40 years old. So before we get too deep, I think, we need to understand all of that. Now, what she just said right there is key, and if you've been on my channel for a while and you've been tracking with me, you already kind of know where I'm going. But I am glad that she actually said it, right? Because see, a lot of people out here, they don't really say what's really going on. And because I've actually watched this clip already before, there's some more things that she's going to say that I'm actually going to give her credit for, that she actually already, took, the responsibility of having it. But we're going to just start with what I just showed. So she just basically talked about being hyper independent, which was her words. And then she talked about successful. Like, I don't like that term successful because I don't think that's fair. It's not fair to the school teacher. It's not even fair to the woman who really just wants, to be a data entry person. It's not fair because why are you saying that those jobs aren't successful? Okay. And then saying that if you're a millionaire, it is successful. I think that that's not the right way to look at it. And I think that's one of the main problems that we have in our society, especially when we start to deal with, things like money and why everyone ends up chasing money, instead of even chasing God. And even God talks about, you cannot love him and money. But anyway, let's get to it. So a lot of what they're about to go into now, like I say, is this whole dating pool situation. But again, remember right now, she's taking the responsibility. And she's basically saying one of her key elements is that she's hyper independent, that she really has a hard time letting a man come in and take control. And see, this is really where that issue always shows up, right? Because it's not so much about the woman, dealing with the fact that she has money. It's also a personality that 9 times out of 10 goes with this. And again, for those that have been with me for a long period of time, you know that my background is actually film and media. So I know a lot of women in this category. I know a lot of them that, are chasing that dream of being an actress, being a singer, being a model. And it is extremely difficult for them to make it. And most of them will not make it for a very long time. So it's almost as though they're giving up their dream, of the family and the house and stuff like that in order to follow the dream of being an actress and doing all these other things. Now, there's always that second argument, as in, why can't they just be satisfied with, community theater? Because there's plenty of actors and actresses that do things like community theater. And if they can hop into a movie, or things like that, they will. And see, this is where that choice comes in what people want out of their life. When you're dealing with high achieving people, these are people that want to go up the mountain. They're not satisfied with the little hills at the bottom. Because see, there's not much in our lives that we really can't do, even at a small level. Like right now, we have YouTube. There are people, that have built on YouTube and are actors and actresses on YouTube that all they do is little skits where they run around the house or they run around their neighborhood. And many of these people might even have 1 million followers, and they're making good money. They're not making Tyler Perry money, and they're not household names, but, they're making good money, right? And they're still following their dream. So there's all these levels of success. But a lot of times what people want is they want to see themselves on the TV screen. They want to be able to walk into a place and people kind of know who they are. And for many people that are just out here on YouTube, it is easy to kind of disappear. Even though I'll admit, just being a part of, I think, the top 3 million of people on YouTube puts you in like the top 8 or 9%, right? But you're still talking about 3 million channels, and so that's the thing. Versus when you actually have a good portion of the Black community that will watch almost anything Tyler Perry puts out. So she's trying to be a part of that community. She's trying to go up that mountain, which is a totally different group, right? And because of that, she's having to make sacrifices, and she's mainly cutting men out of her life so that she can continue up this mountain.
So used to my life being a certain way,
okay.
and trusting that my partner can, can do that.
Okay.
And a lot of that comes from, and it's so many different levels that I look for in a man, like where he is in his walk with God, where he is financially, career-wise, passion. And for me, the men that I've attracted in the past, they weren't where they wanted to be in their passion. I feel like for a man, you have to be secure in where you are.
Yeah.
You have to be doing what you absolutely love, so that if you do have a woman that may be making more money, that's another thing. It's hard to find a man that makes more money than I do. So I'm dating someone who...
Pause.
Even before Lecrae starts in, I talked a little bit about this whole concept of passion. Like she's calling it their passion. I would call it their purpose, right? Because again, for some of you all that are brand new to my channel, you will know that I really didn't want to be out here on YouTube. That was not what I wanted. My passion is actually filmmaking and telling stories. And that's what I wanted to. That's my passion. And that's why I say I know a lot about this world. I've done, several films and different things like that. And I've even worked with, some B/C list actors, depending upon how you want to, define them. People like Tommy Ford. All right. So I've been in this world. Like I say, I understand it very well. However, my purpose is now to do what God wants me to do. And he actually has led me out here on YouTube. But whether it's a passion or a purpose, I agree with her in what she is saying. One of the main reasons why a lot of men get intimidated is because they're not walking in what they're supposed to do. And they're confused about what they're supposed to do. And this is why for the women that follow me, I'm always saying, find a man whose train has left the station. And even for the men that follow me, I'm always saying, guys, understand what God wants for you and leave the station. Because, I joke all the time about my celebrity, baby mama and, her, the singer, her. And I always laugh because I know she's a multimillionaire, right? And I'm like, well, if one day if she finds these videos and decides to date me, what would I, how would I deal with it, right? And to be honest with you, I know where God has put me. And because he's put me here, I believe that I would have enough security, to actually date her, right? But I'll admit that if people are out here and they're not walking with that, I really can't say how they would feel. Because a lot of people feel insecure just simply because they're just not doing what they think they should be doing. Recently, I actually, went to a high school reunion. A lot of us got together and we actually, did it here in Atlanta. And what was really interesting about it was as I started to talk to a lot of my older classmates, what was really interesting was that many of them were insecure about certain things. Many of them felt like they weren't as successful as they wanted to be. Many of them felt like they might have had too many children or not enough children. Some of them were divorced and they felt insecure about that. But it was really through this eye-opening, conversation that you really started to see that people can be kind of insecure about a lot of things. It's not just about money. It's about where you are in life. And so do I think the average man is insecure about the average woman? No, absolutely not. Do I believe that the average man is worried about women out here being successful and making money? Absolutely not. And as I've said multiple times and to put up multiple charts, black men on average make more money than black women. There is a narrative that's being played out, but the statistics do not bear that out, right? But in her situation, even though I truly believe at that level, more men are making more money than black women, even at that level, I truly do believe it. But at that level, a lot of black men at that level, they can get whatever they want. So they're not going to be concerned about a woman that is basically has to have everything her way, who's fiercely independent, who fiercely wants to go up this mountaintop.
It's hard to find a man that makes more money than I do.
Because like the guys who are, they're not coming at me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like the guys who do attract.
That's true. That's facts.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
That's
not
facts.
like saying like.
I'm just balling on y'all. I mean, it's like, they little dogs out here.
I'm joking.
I hear what you're saying.
But it is like, I guess where I am in like the sceneries that I'm in, like a lot of people, they're not making as much as I am. But you have to be a very secure man to step to a woman that is making what I make and living the way I live, to not feel inferior. And I do my best to make sure that like my person doesn't feel that way, but it's really up to you how you really feel and how you carry that. So the past few years, I just started dating again last year, and I hadn't dated before that since 2018. I just focused on work. At that point, I was still styling Tyler and costume designing. So I feel like I was just pumping a lot of energy and time into my
Did you not
career.
want to date, or you?
Now, remember what she just said. That was 2018. And when this was shot, it was literally shot about a week and a half ago. So you're dealing with almost, 6 years that she put on hold. And at that time, she would have been 34. So at 34 years old, she decided not to date. And she decided to 100% focus on her career, right? Now, more than likely, men have probably talked to her briefly here, there, and everywhere, in that time period. But even with that, and this is one of those things where I do encourage women, if you are hyper successful, if you're going to do this, you got to get the man when you just normal, when you're just going through normal life, right? And this is where a lot of women cut these men. We see it in so many women. They cut the man in their 30s, late 20s, 30s, believing, okay, I got to go up this mountain. But then, and they think that the man is holding them back. And then they get up the mountain. And then once they're up there, it's kind of like, okay, what do I do now? Because this success has not brought me the man that I want. And now I don't even know, because the men up here don't really necessarily want me. And so now what do I do?
Honestly, it just wasn't coming. Like, I think because I was so busy, it was almost like a
you
sacrifice.
wasn't in the right places.
I wasn't,
Okay.
because I was so buried in work.
Yeah.
I wasn't even, if I wasn't working, I was sleeping, you know?
Got you.
It was one of those moments in my
Yeah.
life. And then I feel like now it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, God has literally opened up every door that I want, but my focus is on work, 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 work. So finding someone that can come in and be like, babe, I'm proud of you, do your thing.
Yeah.
All right, I know this month you gotta shoot, so I'll make sure that you at least got some food when you come home. Like, those things. I was dating a dude, and I literally was like working like 18-hour days. Like, we were working some long days. And by the time I wrapped, the same dishes that were in my sink when I reported to work were still in the sink when I wrapped. And I was like, you couldn't have done that. All you doing is going to the gym every day. Like, you know what I'm saying, and chilling.
Yeah.
What's happening here?
So again, we can see this role reversal. And see, this is when people start talking about women being masculine, okay? And like on this channel, we call them instinct driven. And remember, what she just said. See, this is why I put all these things together for you all. So she's looking at the dishes. And like I say, I don't always think it has to be domestic. You know that, right? But look at how that lined up. She's coming home. She's like, okay, can he fix me some food? The dishes are still there. I worked all this time, blah, blah, blah. Doesn't this sound, like I said, like a man? Like if we went back 10 years, this would be like a gripe a man would have. And then what has the person done? They just sat around all day. Sat around all day and went to the gym. In her house, evidently, because she's letting the man live with her. So you see how this role reversal is working. And see, this is why so many masculine women, end up with feminine men. Because masculine men, first of all, they're not even going to put up with, I'll be honest with you, with a woman that works 18 hours a day, because that doesn't groove with them. And a lot of those women might feel like they're not being supported. But again, it's about what mountain are you trying to climb? Because again, there's so many different levels. And the level that she wants is way, way, way up here. And there's all these levels that are down here that still she could have really good success in her life. But again, it's about defining that success.
So what's the deal breakers?
The deal breakers for me, what they have been is not being honest.
Okay.
Coming to me, trying to lay it out like you have it all together, and selling me a dream, and then the reality, the layers start to peel back. I'm like, oh, you're nowhere near what you were trying to sell or portray.
Yeah.
I did a Latarius Whitfield's podcast, and I talked about the one guy I dated. His Instagram, you would have thought, oh, we can go toe to toe. You know what I'm saying? Like, he on yachts, I'm on yachts. Like, he Louis down, I'm Louis down. The Louis was fake. I said, wait a minute, something's not adding up.
At least just say my Louis. Just don't put the Louis back on there.
No.
Just put the Toomey back on there.
Right.
It's fine. It's okay, bro. It's like,
but you're trying to be something you're not. And I think for me, it's like, just be who you are, and it was a lot of where I felt like hiding things. That was a deal breaker for me. It was like the transparency wasn't there.
Yeah.
Like, just tell me what it is.
Okay, so what she's talking about now is what some people say online is the representative. So if you've seen or heard, people talk about the representative, saying show up as your authentic self. All right. And so that's kind of what she's leaning into. And see, this problem, again, exists mostly for women that are walking in their masculine. All right. It really doesn't work for women that are walking in their feminine. Because see, women that walk in their feminine, they're going to be more attracted to men that are walking in their masculine. And masculine men don't come in faking the funk. They come in basically, honestly, taking control. And you all know that, that's one of the tenets that I'm always saying is about a husband or a wife, is that a husband is going to come in and he's going to take ownership. Now, taking ownership and taking control is slightly different. Taking ownership is more concerned about who you are, as a woman in this particular case, and trying to make sure you're protected in every single thing that you do. But taking control is about, okay, well, now that you're in my world, we do things my way. All right. And masculine men, that's how they roll. They roll in a way that it's like, okay, well, at this, particular time, we're going to do this. Over here, we're going to do this. This is how we do. This is how we work. These are my rules and regulations. This is what it takes to be with me. And masculine women, when they hear stuff like that, they get frustrated. But feminine women are like, thank you. Thank you, Lord, that you're taking control. Oh my gosh. Thank you. I know that this is a safe place, right? Because anywhere you go in the world, all right, if you just want to look at it like this, anywhere you go in the world has rules and regulations. If you want to go to a football game, as soon as you walk through, you're going to go through metal detectors. If you act certain ways, they will kick you out. Okay, if you go to a concert, if you get on a plane, you know you have to do a certain thing. There are rules and regulations, and those rules and regulations make people feel safe. So feminine women understand that to go to a masculine man is a man that has his own rules and regulations. And those rules and regulations make the woman feel safe. And it's why I always encourage men to understand that you have no shame with telling a woman what you want and how you want it. Okay, don't feel bad about that. Don't be scared about that. Okay, because women that are walking in their feminine, they're going to love it. Okay, now it shouldn't be overbearing. And you should recognize that you're supposed to walk as a servant leader. Okay, Jesus was a servant leader. What this basically means is that when you're coming up with these rules and regulations, it should be with the mindset that you're doing well for the woman. That the woman has like 90% of what she needs, not what she wants, but what she needs. And she should feel comfortable in this environment. That is a servant leader. And I'm always encouraging you all to read Matthew and Proverbs. But in Matthew, okay, there is a day, and I'm not about to go all the way into it right now, but there is a day, this is the same day when Jesus walked on the water, where you can see he gave everything in that day. That was the day of him being a 100% servant leader. And he took care of everybody but himself, right? And so that is how men are supposed to serve. But it comes with, if you're going to be like Jesus, and I'm being real, Jesus is very quick to say, come follow me. And then people were like, well, I don't want to do that, Jesus. I got stuff to do. And he was like, then get away from me. You don't deserve to walk with me. You're either rolling with me my way or go away. Right? And so that is how masculinity works. But it should be a very comfortable environment for the woman. And so for her, it's very difficult because she's walking in her masculine. So therefore, when she's running into men, more than likely, they're going to walk in their feminine because she's not going to be able to handle someone walking in their masculine. Like if I was talking to her, I don't care how much money she has. I don't care. I'm masculine. So at that point, she has to start to line up. It doesn't matter about her money. Her money doesn't matter anymore. She's dealing with a masculine man. So at this point, I need her to line up. And so at that point, we're going to fight. And so because of that, she's going to get rid of me. Because I'm going to be too much of a problem for her. Because I'm basically going to be saying, hey, I need you to do X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. And so what it does is it encourages her to go and find feminine men. And these are the men that are going to do everything they can to be in that world, including lying to her.
It is, so I can choose whether I want to, like, because I'm big on sewing into my partner. Like if I see that there's something that you really want to do and I believe in it, I'm going to back it, you know? Yeah. So like being in a space where like, all right, maybe.
See that? Bag it, give some money, put some money behind it. Again, how does it, think about all these things. She's giving the man money. She's having him to live with her. She is basically the man.
The roles are reversed and I have to be the one to, because most of the time it's the guy being like, babe, what you want to do? All right, here you go.
Right.
It's, you know what I'm saying? A lot of times it's different for me. Like I'm the one saying, no, what is it you really want to do? Let's like make sure that's what you want. And so that you can feel fulfilled. Because I think that's so important.
That's tough. And I'm even as you're talking, I'm trying to process how I would have handled that or how I would navigate that. Yeah. It takes maturity because wealth is not wisdom. No. A lot of people will mix that up. Like, just because you don't have the level of wealth somebody has does not mean you're devoid of wisdom and insight and whatever. But I think a lot of us will make that mistake. But I'm just even thinking like, how would I navigate that? Would I be intimidated?
Right, as a man, yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about it, and I do think that my mindset would lack the confidence to try to. It's so funny how our identity is so wrapped up in financial wherewithal. Because I was never
Right.
I was always gonna work hard. I was always gonna be a provider, but I think it's like, oh no, I'm not at her level, so maybe I should chill.
Right.
I never dealt with that, but because I got married so young.
Yeah.
But that's so wait, how does that work? Because in your 20s, it don't nobody's thinking about that.
Nobody cares. No.
Yeah, it's like, buy me a drink. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So what's it like in your
40s?
Like that's a whole other ball game.
It's another ball game, because then you have, like, when you're at this point, we've got established debt and credit and different things that you want somebody that at least has a roof over their head. We can't be in our 40s and I don't care, like, a roof can be an apartment, like, it doesn't. But we're like, I need to be able to not just be at my house, like, we need to go to your house.
So again, there's so much that they said that they didn't even recognize that they said. Like Lecrae had just talked about the fact that he had got married in his 20s. And I find that a lot of men, even at that level, they're able to get married in their 20s and even early 30s. And I believe a lot of that happens because, again, they're dealing with women that are walking in their feminine and they're there to support their man. But a lot of women, and this is honestly where I really do kind of empathize for a lot of these women, is because they have that desire. And like I said, I don't think society creates this desire. I believe that it's always here, and it's honestly all around the world. And I talk about that because when we look at personality, we see that there's almost always a certain segment of the population that lines up this way. However, we also talk about the fact that the Proverbs 31 woman is instinct based, which today we would call her masculine. Right? But the difference is that she humbles herself to her husband. Now, this particular lady seems like she is actually open to that type of energy. But the problem, that she's running into is that she's still in so much control, okay, that she has to find that man that 100% lines up with, that vision, and that can be extremely difficult just simply because most men, like I said, at her level, they're not going to do it. And then most men underneath that, you're going to have a mixed bag. You're going to have men that are going to be intimidated. And then you're going to have other men like me that ain't even going to put up with it. So she's trying to figure out, okay, how do I navigate all these things where really she would have done better to just grab a man on her rise. But then there's always that argument that he might have not allowed her to, to continue to rise because of his rules and regulations, because he's saying, I want to build a family, because, at that point, he's putting the family and everything like that ahead of, okay, her desires in her career. This is one of those places where I wish people would ask a little bit different conversation, which is your career more important than a family? Because I believe that people have to ask that, really, of both men and women. But you definitely have to ask that. And I think people have to be honest about that in their 20s and even early 30s, because that is generally what a lot of these women are really saying. They're saying, I want them both. Career-driven women are saying that. And a lot of times they're not able to obtain both. And that is really where the problem is. And many of them might say, well, it's not fair because a lot of men are able to obtain them. But again, it's always the difference in the type of men. And I've always talked about the fact that there's lots of different types of men that have a very difficult time dating. All right. So there's some people that do really well in certain areas, and then there's other people that do really well in other areas. And so a lot of women think it's unfair, but it's not really. Because again, for all the women that are suffering, quote unquote, at this high, successful, masculine energy level, there are men that are also suffering. And honestly, those two people, generally speaking, are the ones that are supposed to be together. But those women many times reject those men and therefore that opposites attract, balance is not achieved. Anyway, there's a lot of really great information down there in that description. I'm all about helping you all get married. So, that's how I work. Again, if you are a masculine woman or an independent woman or an uber successful woman or even a successful woman and you are struggling, I always say it's all about putting things in place. So you got to be humble. You have to recognize your money does not give you power over the man. It does not give you power over God. You have to still line up in the same way. So please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you all in the very next video.